Have you ever asked yourself what goes on in the minds of parents who find themselves in a situation whereby one of their children has a neurodevelopmental disorder? How do they move on from that? How do they navigate through it? Well, today we are going to have the answers. And our very good friend, who is not a Nigerian, by the way, she has clarified that. But her name is Dr. Fidel Ada, and she will be opening our eyes to just understanding what caregiving, even in that aspect, looks like, and even how to navigate through the neurodevelopmental disorders. She literally has turned what she encountered or what happened to her through her daughter into something that she is using to help so many other people. So we are definitely pumped up to hear what she has to say and for her to share her experience with us. So without much further ado, allow us to welcome our amazing guest, Ada. Hello, Dr. Fidel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
And maybe you can just give a little bit of a brief introduction to our viewers.
Awesome. My name is Fidel Baraza, Reverend Dr. Fidel Baraza. I'm a mama to a very beautiful girl. She's 14 years old. Her name is Raziela Miracle.
Wow.
Yes, and indeed she's a miracle.
Yeah.
Raziela lives with neurodevelopmental disorders, multi-affected because she has autism spectrum disorder, a cerebral palsy, developmental delays, and all these are part of neurodevelopmental disorders.
Right.
And so we have lived that journey for 14 years, and through our lived experiences, trying to find hope from a space of hopelessness, from a space of pain, being overwhelmed by all that neurodevelopmental disorders embodies, and I'm a single parent. So trying to be a support system to her and her going through this journey, an only child, for that matter, in the house, became a bit of a journey. And through that, that's how I found myself thinking I really needed a solution because people not even understanding her, nor understanding me. We found our space in the place of isolation, hopelessness, being overwhelmed, devastated. And so trying to keep ourselves afloat, I found myself in school to pursue further education in that space. And so I found myself going for education and then child development, because I really wanted to understand child development. And I wanted to understand a child who's neuroatypical, because at least I knew a bit about neurotypical children.
Yeah.
And so I went for the neuroatypical because I wanted to understand this child of mine in the house who's struggling with these conditions. And that's how then I have a PhD in education, child development, emphasis on neurodevelopmental disorders. I serve at Christ is the Answer Ministries as the deputy head of the Christian Education Department. And so ideally we deal with discipleship of people right from the children all the way to the adults, and production of the materials that will help in the discipleship of God's saints. Awesome. And that's me in a nutshell. I still do many other things here and there, but that's me in a nutshell. I'm a pastor, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, very passionate about persons with neurodevelopmental disorders. Yes.
Wow.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time this morning to come and talk about neurodevelopmental disorders. If we can take you back and just try to paint a picture when your daughter was born and this happened, how was it for you as a mom?
As a mom, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because, as I had already mentioned, it left me overwhelmed, devastated. And why devastated? Back in 2010, as a young mother-to-be, I carried a twin pregnancy. And with the twin pregnancy, they came out prematurely. At week 30, they were out, week 30 of gestation period.
Yeah.
And on the 18th day of their lives, twin one went to be with the Lord. And that left me very devastated.
Yeah.
These were my firstborns. And so that left me very devastated. Then 3 months later, twin two, also through some complications, ended up having these neurodevelopmental disorders, complications, which are lifelong. And so from that time to now, it has been a journey that is quite painful, quite devastating. But again, God has come in and given me hope. I had to get something to keep me afloat because I had really wanted, like any other mother, when you are carrying your children, you really are looking forward to having this bundle of joy. I had walked into the hospital, seen pregnant women walk in and then walk out with bundles of joy wrapped in very nice, shawls, pink, blue, white, and all that, and being escorted with flower bouquets and blessings and all that. And I desired to have the same. I really wanted to see being walked down out of the corridors, the aisle, with my bundles of joy, and two of them for that matter, not even one.
Yeah.
Only to be called, into the ICU on the 18th day, and what I'm given is a dead body wrapped in an old yellow shawl. And that has never left my mind because I didn't buy a shawl. I didn't have the luxury of bringing or being asked to bring what I have, only to be called and, I'm being shown a lifeless body on the resuscitation table.
Yeah.
And when I asked, because at that particular time I looked at them confused and lost, I was like, give me my baby. And the nurse took the baby, wrapped in an old yellow shawl, and gave me the body. And the baby was very warm, actually very warm. And so at the back of my mind, I was like, she's not dead.
Yeah.
Very warm. You would think the baby is asleep. And then, of course, my next question was, can I go?
Yeah.
Can I go?
Yeah.
What they didn't understand is that I had that desire, that hunger to walk with a baby that is mine on the corridors out. Just feel like I'm being walked out. And she said, no. I said, can I just walk out and come back in? She said, no, you cannot. It's against the hospital rules and laws. And that crushed me. I was like, what do you mean? Everybody walks out with their babies and you tell me I cannot walk with mine you have given me. Just let me also just walk, carry and feel I have carried the baby. I've walked, probably not with the flower bouquets and all those things, but just to walk. I said, no, you can't. And so they said, okay, let's go and, make the baby and all that. And so I thought, they're going to make the baby because I'm still not putting everything together.
Yeah.
And that's how the baby ended up in the morgue. And so that left me devastated. I had a CS that was not healed. And then I had this other child right there in the incubator, in the neonatal incubator, and not knowing what the condition is and the fate. And of course, the preterms, they have to still gain the necessary kgs. And so Miracle was only 1750 grams when she was born. Wow. And so waited. And in the process of waiting, 3 months later, also Miracle got transfused, blood transfusion. And through it, she got some infection and then acquired this, convulsive disorder that eventually then made her have the asphyxia, lack of oxygen on the brain and brain damage and all those things. And so now our journey took another turn. We had to come in and begin to think of other things, like how do we help her, of course, with the help of the medics, walking the journey with us and all that. we had to see how to keep going. I had to know how to be strong for this beautiful girl, the remaining child, to survive and also be able to navigate the challenges and the trauma and the difficulties that life had presented her at a very early age, you know.
Yeah.
And so that has been, and there are times that I will say the journey has involved a lot of challenges and all that, but the journey has also involved a lot of growth.
Yeah.
A lot of growth that in the midst of all that, I told myself, you know what, I can't crash, because if I crash, she crashes.
Yeah.
My life now is not just about me. Somebody else's life is 100% pegged on mine. And so my decisions, how I react, and how I respond to the challenges, the stimuli that is there, does not just affect me. It is affecting a very fragile, innocent human being who it's like I'm their source of everything.
Yeah.
And I had to like really be able to brace up myself and tell myself, no matter what happens, I have to come out victorious. And the beauty is, eventually I realized that I cannot do it on my own.
Yeah.
My own strength fails.
Yeah.
Many a times it fails. Many a times I'll get overwhelmed. Many a times I'll get reach the ends, you know, of it all. But with Jesus, raising my arms and telling him, you know, I'm not able. I need you to help me through this space. I need to see how to navigate this space. So there has been emotional challenges and all that, and of course financial challenges that come with that, the physical challenges that come with that. It's a whole package altogether, but only God can help you be able to navigate. And yes, growth comes in as we look at these children. I've looked at my daughter a day at a time, learning to celebrate the little wins that come with it.
Yeah.
When I've seen a little win, you know, let's say growth doesn't just happen like, you know, on the trajectory to achieve the milestones, just like any other person would. The growth is there, but slowly. You have to look at it a day at a time. You look at it a day at a time, and the day at a time concept brings in the aspect of patience, perseverance, and adaptability to be able to support this individual. But every milestone, just like maybe even just being able for my child, even just the neck holding, that was a milestone. It came, you know, almost 1.5 years later. And so I'll walk around carrying her and holding her head. And, you know, the head is the heaviest organ on a human body. And so I couldn't even like strap her on my back. I didn't have a car. And so walking around with this baby, you are walking, you're holding the head, you know, walking around. And people wouldn't understand. They're thinking, you know, you are really holding on to your child. But it's because you cannot leave the head. It will fall back and all that. Being able to sit, that is another milestone. When they are able to, even just to recognize me, when my daughter recognized me, that was a milestone because I think almost 3 years she couldn't even, make sense whether I couldn't tell whether she has understood that I'm in or not in. I will come in, walk out, and she's emotionless. Today, we are the best of friends. And today, she can even sense me from afar. Yes. And so those are the milestones. When a child can even just take a spoon, and maybe just take a spoon, you know, to the mouth, that's a milestone worthy celebration. And so a day at a time, we look at successes and growth in each and every day. And however small, we celebrate it. And of course, then thinking about myself, of my self-care, to be able to reach out and help this child as well.
Wow.
That's important, even as a follow-up. The last thing that you have said, looking after your own welfare, because it's from that point that also now you are able to take care of this child. How important, Daktari, is that?
That's very, very important, because if you forget about yourself, then you'll crash, you'll crumble, you will not be in the best mindset to be able to help the other person. As a caregiver, you need to, in a daily basis, take it a day at a time. Take it a day at a time where you are able to schedule yourself within the day to have at least even just 10 minutes to yourself. Now, and in these 10 minutes, be able to even just do, even if it's just exercise for 10 minutes, even if it's just meditation and prayer for 10 minutes, even if it's just self-reflection, but you're doing something for you, for your own growth. Because caregiving is a full cup. And most of the time, caregivers at times don't even have a respite care. It's not easy to get on a normal basis, to get people who come in like nannies to help even just the typical children. You'll find mothers with young children who are typical children. They will still tell you the challenges they go through even with getting nannies. Now, it becomes double difficult when you have a child with complications. And complications like NDDs, complications that affect the child's socialization, the child's communication and all that. Maybe I needed to just go back and say that neurodevelopmental disorders emanate from injuries on a developing brain and the central nervous system, or both the brain and the central nervous system. So it could be either or both of them affected. And at times the children are affected in their, thinking process, socialization mechanisms, daily tasks, and all that. And so things that we often take for granted, for them, it takes a little, not even a little, a lot more grace, patience, resilience to be able to navigate. And many a times we may not be able to even understand them. And these children cannot even be able to express them ideally in a way that, even if they're going through pain or somebody's being or molesting them and all that, it becomes hard because they are probably nonverbal and all that. Their communication skills are limited. And so you find when you don't get a person who has a passion and a calling and a heart towards this child, they end up mistreating them and being unfair to them and aggravating the issue because this child may not be able to express themselves, but they understand. They know when you're being unfair and treating them, wrongly. And they take it in because they're not able to express themselves. So they have that trauma again much more in their brain. And so they regress, go backwards in their development. And so that journey becomes quite complicated. And therefore you'll find that a caregiver is hands-on 24/7. And many times they will lack time even to think about self-care, to think about salon. You don't even have time to think about even going out to look for money to fend for your family. And so they will be struggling and all that. You find that then the demands are high. You need medication. You need therapies because for this, as we are going back to it, I'll come back to it, but you need all those things. So it's so easy for you to put all your focus on this individual and in the process forget about yourself. And so you feel lost and people will be looking at you and they're like, look at how she looks like. Look at how, and so she's withdrawn, she's like this and she's like, society has a way of giving us labels and some of those labels are not so good. Some of them are, are bad labels and all that. Not understanding also where you're coming from. And that's why it's very important then that you just think about it, you think about yourself, and so that you are physically at your optimum, socially and emotionally at your optimum, so that then you are able, and even spiritually at your optimum, because I tell you the truth, you cannot do it alone. You need God in the process. I've come to learn God loves my daughter more than I do. She's created in his image.
Yeah.
He loves her more than I do. And I've learned to trust him and say, you love her more than I do. I can only do as much as you enable me to do.
Yeah.
And therefore, I need to always be connected to him, for him to give me the guidance, the wisdom, the energy to do it. And therefore, that's why it's very important for you to keep on filling your own tank, because when your reservoir is full, you are able to draw from it and share it out. But when it's empty, you come from a place of hopelessness. And I've been there as well. There's a time back in 2016, I reached my wit's end and I hit the rock bottom. I looked through the windows and all that. All I saw was hopelessness. As a single mom, with my daughter, with all the demands, I'll look through the window and all I saw was uncertainty, hopelessness, darkness, and all that. And at that particular time, we had a nanny. I didn't even want the nanny to know what I was going through. And so in my room, I would, hug my daughter and cry myself silly. And the more I cried, the more she cried. And the more she cried, so we held ourselves tight and all that. And eventually it got to a place where I told myself, you know what? God, I think I've had enough of it. I'm not able. I can't hold it on anymore. I'm not able to hold this. And so with that, eventually what happened was that I began to ask God, I think it's better off you take us. I think it is better off you take us. And I began to pray, literally to pray for death. To pray because as a human being, I had reached my wit's end. I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I looked at it and I wondered, God, what do I do? How do I go about it? Whom do I explain to my dilemmas, my struggles? Who else can understand my daughter? Sorry, I think just the eyelash. Who else will understand my daughter? And all those things, they left me at a place where I was so lost and wondering what next. I prayed day 1, day 2, day 3 for death. And I was not just wishing. It was not a place where I'm wishing that, somebody would know. And that's why I didn't even want the house girl in the house to know that this is what was going on. But every day we went to that bed, I prayed, God, can you take us? I'm tired. I don't have any energy. I told God, if you thought I was strong enough, because many people had told me, they come to me and say, God cannot give you what you cannot handle. I had had enough of that until I went to God and told God, if you thought you gave me what I can handle, I'm back to tell you, you gave me what I cannot handle. So now, the easiest is take us, both of us. And I wasn't negotiating with God to take me and leave her or take her and leave me. I was like, I love my child so much. I'm not willing to leave her this side. Take us, all of us. We are here. We are ready to come. At least we have tried our level best. We had tried, I think, from 2010 to 2016. So I was like, we have tried. Eventually, the third day, I think a voice within ministered to me, said, Fidel, you are suicidal. I realized my mental health had crashed. I reached out. I went to look for help. I got a pastor who graciously agreed. I told him, I want to see with your wife, and they graciously agreed to meet me. And I had to go through that counseling process. You see, at that particular time, I think I was just doing it over and over. So I burnt out. I reached the wit's end. And so they now told me to begin to refocus. They said, there's no other place you can go. Once you have hit rock bottom, you either bounce back to life or you go 6 feet under, because that is where you are. And where I was headed to, I was actually headed now 6 feet under. And so we were able to talk, and they helped me to see sense out of it. And that's even how now my journey to say something must change. I need to understand my daughter. Nobody is understanding my daughter. nobody is there to offer help, and that's the reason why then I'm crashing. I'm trying myself, and I've gotten to the wit's end. I don't have any more solution, and so that's how I ended up in 2017 now enrolling for my PhD, beginning my studies with the whole concept to understand and help my daughter. I had to invest in me in order to be able to invest in her. So that we keep ourselves alive. And that helped me even to be able to realize then as a person, even to look at God and always go to him now, not to tell him to kill us, but to always go to him for daily replenishing of the strength, of the grace, of the wisdom, of the insight, of the counsel, even on how to go about it and order our steps, and even for provision of the resources that I needed for her. And so I think I began now from that moment, I began to refocus, a mind shift. And that has changed a whole lot. So I'm speaking from a place where I know what it has meant not to focus on myself, to be hands-on and do things in my own strength, and where it led me. I would have been 6 feet under had I continued with that. But somehow somebody talked to me and I changed. And things have changed.
Wow.
Both for me and for my daughter.
I mean, I have a lot running in my mind because I'm like, whoa, it's like being in the fire literally and coming out with no smoke, because I mean, you're here and you are encouraging so many other people and seeing that you literally went through the journey makes me understand when God tells us the waves will not overwhelm you. They look like they are overwhelming, but then you still rise up and you don't crash. And I'm actually curious to now know, when you began the studies, when you began to pursue this knowledge and actually wisdom and understanding to know how now to deal with your child, what are some of the things that you got to learn that you were able to apply that maybe you never knew before?
So that's a whole lot to share. Let me say this. I had been a pastor. I've been a pastor in CITAM since 2006. I came in as an intern pastor in 2006. And in 2007, I was taken on full-time and as a children's pastor. I had served in the children ministry for a very long time. From that, 2006 all the way to 2010, I had never, to 2011, 2012, I had never seen children with disabilities, and especially neurodisabilities in CITAM. I had never seen them as a pastor. Until I got my own child. Until I got to begin to see, the challenges she had. And then all of a sudden I began to see them. When I went to school to pursue my PhD, of course, I buried myself into books. I was on adrenaline, and God just gave me the speed that nobody, in fact, by the time I was finishing, even the professors were wondering, have you finished? Who finishes a PhD in 2.5 years? How? And all that. And as the Senate had to sit to review my graduation, whether full Senate board sat no other agenda but discussing me and trying to look for all the loopholes, if there is anything that will cause or can make the university be implicated in a way that is not, because they were wondering, how did that happen?
The speed.
They tried, they looked, and eventually they were like, we have to release her, because even if we kept her here, we keep her doing what? Do we add her extra work? Extra load? Do we go to begin to craft additions into this program just to keep her here? What for? So they released me. I graduated. But for me, it was not just even the head knowledge alone.
No.
At church, I began to see so many children with these neurodevelopmental disorders. Examples of neurodevelopmental disorders include cerebral palsy, ADD, ADHD, autism, learning disabilities, dyslexia, among others. There are many in that bracket. I began to see these children. And all of a sudden, I began to now look back, and I was like, so this is the same way my child has, because I already knew nobody understood my child. And one thing that really would pierce my heart was that even as a pastor, I had to leave my child at home in the house and then go on Sunday and minister to all the children, the other children. And at the back of my mind, remember that I have one twin, and every time I see my daughter, she reminds me of her twin sister, who is with the Lord. And so I knew that life is limited, and we are living on a borrowed time, because I had at the back of my mind that my daughter is living a life that is challenged in one way or another. And I would ask myself, for how long do I have my daughter? And then my Bible tells me that no one comes to the Father apart from through the Lord Jesus Christ. And it doesn't say no one apart from those with neurodevelopmental disorders. And so I asked myself, if the Bible does not say no one apart from those with neurodevelopmental disorders, and yet my child cannot come to church, and even if she came, nobody is able to speak to her at a level she can understand and go home and say she knows the Lord Jesus Christ. And it is packaged as though she's non-existent, even when she's present. The message is passed across as though she's non-existent. Then I began to realize that was the story for all the other children. They were there, either just running up and about and all that and doing their things and all, but nobody really ever packaged the gospel for them. And I began to ask myself this question: are we saying that my daughter and her kind are so fallen, so short of the glory of God, that they are not worthy of the saving grace of our Lord Jesus Christ? And therefore, we will not bother to even present the gospel to them. And if that is the case, then are we saying that they are already condemned on this part of the world with the neurodevelopmental disabilities, and yet at the side of eternity, they have also already been condemned to eternal damnation? I said, if that is the case, then we should be in agreement that God is a sadist. For him to actually go that way, he is a sadist. I was like, I've read my Bible. It doesn't say anywhere that God is a sadist. He's not a sadist. He said in the Great Commission, go ye into the whole world, make disciples of all nations, teaching them. I said, aren't these children part of the whole world? Aren't they part of all the nations? Aren't we then supposed to make disciples of them? Aren't they people? Then, if that is the case, something has to change. And that is, if you realize, I went for education, literally education. Why? Because there needs to be a way to teach. To teach a child, and that's child development. For you to teach this child, you have to know how they develop. And then, not just any child, that's why I was like, the neuroatypical one. I want that one. How do you teach that particular one? Because I wanted to see, how do we present the gospel to Miracle and her kind, because they're there. I had now seen them. My eyes had been opened. I was blind, but now my eyes had been opened, and I was seeing them. They were coming from different places, and some brought from institutions, and they're there then, like, wow. So what do we do? How do we go about it? And so that challenged me, and the desire to do that is what led me into that, and seeing how do we communicate this gospel, that they can also be saved, and then also be able to speak into how do we create inclusive environments, to help them be able to be included in the day-to-day running. Whether in the church community, in schools, in our workspaces, and even in our home environments, apartments. How do we create inclusive environments to accommodate all of them? And that has been my passion and my drive.
Wow.
Wow. Talk to us, Dr. about the importance of a support system when you are a caregiver. so that you're also challenged. As you mentioned earlier, you also take care of yourself. You are not overwhelmed. And even when you are overwhelmed, you have people who can encourage you, who can support you, who can, keep you going.
Support systems are very important. This morning, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a support system.
Yeah.
To raise up a child with neurodevelopmental disorders, it needs collaborative efforts from the caregivers, the family members, the parents, if they're there, or significant care family members. Efforts from the community, and the community then will include, the community where they live, the community where they worship, faith communities, the community, school communities, and also, the educators and all that those are the communities, and then the medical fraternity and professionals also. So it's concerted efforts. You are working in a web. You need each and every one of those people. They are very key, very important. And I will touch on each one of them, briefly.
Yeah.
From the home front, even your nanny is very important. Very important, because this person, when you are not there, your child is 100% reliant on them. This morning I'm here because my daughter has gone to school with a shadow teacher. And so the shadow teacher is taking care of her. I left, the shadow teacher helping me to dress her, have her get her breakfast, and go to school. Just before I walked in, I asked them, did she take her, breakfast well? Is she okay? Yes. The moment they get to school, and I also had to even ask a person, a neighbor, just ask them, I'm not able to be there today. My daughter has to go to school. Will you kindly help me drop them to school with a shadow teacher? And so that is another support. So one person has helped me to dress her up, give her breakfast. Another person has helped me to drop them to school. And I'm sure they reach to school on time. Then the teachers are there. So the teachers also come in to offer all the necessary support and accommodations as she's doing individualized educational, plan, because she still has to study, but be understood from a point of that she is an individual, and the teachers to come in to be able to give her that educational information at her level with her unique challenges, and the school then coming in to think about what are the special accommodations she needs as an individual. We have all the other children. They may not need it, or they may need, their needs could be different from hers. But now thinking about her as a person and offering her the support system and the accommodations she needs. And so that goes on, the school community will be all the teachers, the workers, the guards, knowing that she cannot walk out of the gate at least alone. They know her. That is a support system. And then now you come home, the same thing, the home environment in the neighborhood, there needs to be such efforts and all that. You go to church, then the church community, worship the faith community, the teachers being open to accommodate, to embrace, and realizing if she is in your class, what kind of support does she need? Like my own daughter is also short-sighted. Then she needs to have front row sitting, or at least near the front to be able to see. She needs support when everybody else is running. She has to walk, wait until, there's no commotion, then walk slowly and get there. And then when it comes to time to release, see how to release her so that, all the necessary accommodations and all that. So those are kind of the things that you need. And then now, of course, the medical fraternity, you can not leave it behind, because they are the experts when it comes then to the way of how do we deal with it, because they need therapies, and the therapy may not be one. There could be different therapies. We have the physiotherapy, we have the, targeting the muscles and all that. We have the occupational that is targeting the brain. We have the hydro, the equine therapy, the speech therapy. There are so many therapies. We may not be able to handle them ourselves. We may not even know where are the places for us to touch and do what and all that, and how much pressure to exert on the body. They know it. And you work with a number of them. I have worked with the therapists, with the neurologists, with the pediatricians, with the different specialists and, professionals in different angles, just to be able. And all this is very important. And I've seen the improvement.
Yeah.
Due to the concerted efforts, I've seen the improvement.
Yeah.
My daughter, I've seen her achieve. And as we have said, those wins, one day at a time, small wins.
Yeah.
I enrolled her recently in the Miss and Miss Inclusive beauty pageant.
Wow.
The first one, for her, she had never done this. When it was announced, I'm informed they had over 100 applicants, persons with disabilities, because it was all inclusive. So it had all types of disabilities, and then there was no age cutoff, so to speak, and it also included the plus sizes. So people were many who applied. The applicants were many. And I took a journey of faith. I told myself, I'm the advocate for my daughter. She's nonverbal.
Yeah.
She's 14 and nonverbal. I told myself, I'm her advocate. And so I picked up my phone and I did, just over the phone, I said, I'm her mother. She's 14 years old. She's nonverbal. She lives with these, specified neurodevelopmental disorders. And I'm applying on her behalf. I put the disclaimer for them to know it's not her who is doing it, it's me applying on her behalf.
Yeah.
And, so that her voice can matter, because in many ways their voices are left behind.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I was so happy when I got this feedback that she had been accepted in this. And we began the journey. It was a day for auditions at Uhuru Park. Now, taking a child at Uhuru Park who has cerebral palsy, autism spectrum disorder, delayed developmental milestones, and there are some other related. She is also actually has sensory hyperactivity or sensory disorder. Sensory disorder meaning that she's sensitive to stimuli, and especially loud noises affect her. And I go, and it was not an easy task. Somebody would think that it was an easy walk through the path. It was the very first time even for the people, the planners, to do this. So they didn't factor in people with neurodevelopmental disabilities in their planning. They factored in disabilities, but they didn't think neurodevelopmental disabilities. They didn't factor in underage also. And so it was just for anyone and everyone. And so we go there. And the times we were there by 8, I think they began addressing us at around 12.
Wow.
The auditions, they began going to the runway at around 2. So the whole day with her, it was not easy, even emotionally for me and all that. But she went through. Thank God she managed. And I was like, wow, this is a win. And the grand finale took place on the 30th of August. And guess what? She was crowned the Mr. and Miss Inclusive brand ambassador. And so she's the brand ambassador of Mr. and Miss Inclusive Kenya 2024.
Congratulations
to
her.
Yes, that is for her. In fact, I need to have come with her sash and just say,
representing her once again.
Representing her once again.
That's a huge win. That's not even a small win.
No. That's a huge win. Actually, I ought to have come with her sash. Maybe I'll still just send you that photo. I have her photos with me. The photos are there. In fact, I ought to have sent you a little earlier. You would have even shown and displayed. And so that is a win, a major one.
That's a major
for
one.
a child with neurodevelopmental disorders. And she is using this platform together with me to raise that awareness, advocacy. I run a trust called Beauty Out of Maya, Boom Trust. Beauty Out of Maya, you can Google it out. Beauty Out of Maya comes, of course, from our story, the miry clay. Out of the miry clay, you can see the beauty that she is actually now a beauty pageant brand ambassador. And you can see me. You won't tell it's not written all over me, that this is the journey I have walked. And so this is the beauty out of Maya. And we are advocating and voicing out for parents who raise children like mine and who find themselves in these spaces, to tell them that we can keep hope alive. Take it a day at a time. We can focus on the ultimate God, Maker, who knows us, and not view disabilities through the lenses of misperceptions, because I was coming also from, in Africa, lenses of misperception, where we look at neurodevelopmental disorders from the lenses of witchcraft and, curse, bad omen, and all that. And therefore, we miss out on helping these children achieve the necessary supports when we focus on the misperceptions. The earlier you accept, come to a level of acceptance, then you are able to work and support this child, and then be able to reach out to the professionals for support, and then create inclusive environments. And so that is where we are, that is what we do, and that is our voice in the community. And we reach out to institutions, any person who says, help us know how to recreate our spaces to make them inclusive. I will be able to reach out and help.
Awesome. Wow. Reverend Dr. Fidel Ada Baraza, thank you so very much for your time, and lots of wisdom as well on this, and the encouragement. Someone looking at you, and even as you are sharing, they can't really tell that you've gone through all this, but we thank God for that grace, and also for your mercy. Maybe you can tell us how maybe someone would want to get in touch with you, how they can be able to get in touch with you, maybe social media. How can they get in touch with you?
Social media, you can look out for me on LinkedIn. I'm just Fidel Ada Baraza. Look out for that. Then you can also Google, search out Beauty Out of Maya Trust, Boom Trust. We are out there on Boom Trust. On LinkedIn, on YouTube, I'm there again, Beauty Out of Maya. Yes, you go on TikTok, Beauty Out of Maya. So we are Beauty Out of Maya. But you can also always reach out to me. I can always share my number. If that is okay.
That's okay. If you're comfortable, that's okay. Go ahead.
Made me go like,
do
I really?
No, let me not limit you.
But it goes out there.
Let's do the social media. Let's do social media.
But you can always send me an email. Fidel Ada. Fidel is PHIDEL AD. Fidel Ada at gmail.com or beautyoutofmaya@gmail.com.
Yes, that's the best option. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it, because this has been so, it's been a breath of fresh air, literally listening to you. And indeed, Gigi, you're right. She doesn't look like where she has come from. It's the three Hebrew boys.
The Lord's doing purely by His grace.
There was a fourth man in that fire.
There has been. I think for us, there has been a third man.
For you, it's actually a third. You, your daughter, and then now we have the
and
third
her name, Raziela. Raziela means my secret is God. A miracle, of course, is miracle.
Wow.
When I gave her the name, I didn't know. But she's lived unto her name.
Amen.
Wow.
God is purely her secret.
It's true.
Yes.
We can't wait
She's
to
pulled
see.
through spaces that only God will have helped her pull through. Yes.
And we can't wait to see who she becomes in years to come.
Very true.
Because this is just the beginning. Even with the award that she won, that's so beautiful and powerful. And thank you so much for coming through, for gracing us with your presence, for blessing us, because indeed it has been a blessing, and also encouraging and inspiring the many people who are tuned in this morning. So may God bless you and continue to use you in this particular area. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. I know that you have been blessed and inspired at the same time. For those parents who maybe did not know where to start and feel like they are hopeless, even getting to the point that Dr. Fidel got to, of wishing, not even wishing, but literally praying for death. I mean, that really caught my heart because it just shows you how devastated she was. But then God picked her up from that miry clay and definitely has made beauty from that situation. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you got encouraged. This episode has been on YouTube. So if you need to rewatch it again or share it with someone you feel may benefit, please do so. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Beatrice Nudi. See you tomorrow.
Thank you so very much for your company. My name is George Gishuru. Kwaheri for now.